Let me tell you something. Nobody pulls you aside at 18, 20, or even 25 and says, hey, the way you're living right now, it's either building your future or quietly destroying it. And by the time you realize it, it's late. Too late to get those years back. So today, we're fixing that. Right now, listen, life doesn't come with instructions. Nobody hands you a manual that says, do this daily, and you become who you're meant to be. No, what happens instead? You drift, you guess, you waste time thinking you've got more of it. And one day, you wake up, and life's not where you wanted it to be. Not because you weren't capable, but because nobody told you what actually matters. Well, today, I'm telling you, everybody loves talent. People admire it, praise it, talk about it like it's some kind of magic. You see someone who's naturally good at something, and you think that's it, that's the secret. They've got something I don't. But let me tell you something, talent is loud in the beginning and silent in the long run. Because talent shows up when it feels like it. Consistency shows up when it feels like it. Consistency shows up no matter what. And life doesn't reward the person who shows up when it's convenient. Life rewards the person who shows up when it's hard, when it's boring, when nobody is clapping, when nobody is watching. You see, what nobody tells you early on is that the gap between successful people and everyone else isn't as big as you think. It's not always intelligence. It's not always opportunity. It's not even talent most of the time. It's repetition. It's the ability to do the same thing over and over again with focus, with effort, with intention, long after the excitement is gone. Because that excitement, that motivation you feel at the start, that doesn't last. There are days you wake up tired, days you don't feel like doing anything, days when your mind tells you skip it, you can do it tomorrow. And that's the moment right there, that's where everything is decided. Not when you feel good, not when you're inspired, but when you don't feel like it and you do it anyway. That's consistency. And consistency doesn't look impressive in the moment. It's not flashy. It's not something people celebrate daily. It's quiet. It's repetitive. Sometimes it even feels pointless. You go to the gym, nothing changes. You study, nothing clicks. You work on your goals, and it feels like you're stuck day after day after day. And this is where most people quit because they expect results too fast. They expect progress they can see immediately. They think if it's not working right now, it's not working at all. It's not working at all. But what they don't understand is that consistency is working behind the scenes. Every small effort, every hour you put in, every time you choose discipline over comfort, it's stacking. You just can't see it yet. It's like planting seeds. You don't dig them up every day to check if they're growing. You trust the process. You water them. You show up again, and one day, something breaks through. Now, here's the truth most people avoid. There is always someone out there with less talent than you, working harder than you, showing up more than you, staying consistent when you decide to stop. And over time, they catch up. Then they pass you, not because they were better, but because they were there. Every day, consistency turns average into excellence. That's the part nobody tells you. That's the part nobody tells you. You don't have to be the best when you start. You don't have to be the smartest, the fastest, or the most gifted. You just have to keep going. Because when you repeat something long enough, you improve. When you improve, you gain confidence. When you gain confidence, you push harder. And suddenly, you're not the same person you used to be. But most people never reach that point. They start strong and stop early. They rely on motivation, and motivation leaves. They rely on talent, and talent plateaus. But consistency builds something deeper, something stronger, something that doesn't disappear when things get difficult. It builds discipline. And discipline, that's the real foundation. That's the real foundation. Because once you learn to show up no matter how you feel, once you stop negotiating with your excuses, once you decide that your actions are not controlled by your mood, you become dangerous. Now, you're not depending on good days. Now you're not waiting for the perfect moment. You're creating progress every single day. And here's the part that changes everything. Consistency doesn't just build skill, it builds identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries, you start seeing yourself as someone who does, someone who shows up, someone who follows through, someone who finishes what they start. And that identity, that belief in yourself, that's what separates you. Because when things get hard, and talent won't save you. Motivation won't save you. Only your ability to keep going will. And once you understand that, once you truly accept that showing up daily matters more than being naturally good, you start to look at your time differently. Nobody sits you down and explains this part clearly. They tell you to dream big. They tell you to work hard. They tell you to believe in yourself. But they don't tell you the one thing quietly working against you every single day: time. See, time doesn't show up like a warning. It doesn't knock on your door and say, "Hey, you're wasting me." No. It moves silently, patiently, unapologetically. And that's what makes it dangerous. Because you wake up thinking you've got plenty of it. You scroll a little longer. You delay things just one more day. You tell yourself, "I'll start tomorrow." Tomorrow turns into next week. Next week turns into next week. Next week turns into next month. And before you even realize what's happening, years have passed. And here's the truth most people don't want to face. It's not the big mistakes that ruin your life. It's the small delays, the tiny decisions, the moments you thought didn't matter, the tiny decisions, the moments you thought didn't matter. That's where time slips through your fingers. You see, people are afraid of failure, but what they should really be afraid of is wasted time, because failure teaches you something. Failure builds you, but wasted time, it gives you nothing back. Nothing. You don't get a refund on the hours you ignored your potential. You don't get a second chance at the days you chose comfort over growth. Time just moves forward without you. And one day, you wake up, not in panic, not in fear, but in realization. You look around, and life doesn't match the vision you once had. The goals you talked about, still ideas. The person you wanted to become, still distant. And the hardest part, you can't blame anyone else. Because deep down, you knew. You knew what you needed to do. You knew where you were wasting time. You felt it every time you avoided the work. But you told yourself, "It's okay. I've got time." That sentence right there, that's the most expensive lie you can ever believe, because time doesn't slow down for your excuses. It doesn't pause for your doubts. It doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It just keeps going. And while it's going, it's shaping your life. Whether you're intentional or not, whether you're disciplined or distracted, whether you're focused or lost, time is building something with your days. The question is, what is it building? Because every hour you spend matters more than you think. That hour you use to learn something new, that builds your future. That hour you wasted doing nothing that moves you forward, that builds your regret. And the scary part, both feel the same in the moment. That's why people don't notice. That's why they stay stuck. Because wasting time doesn't hurt immediately. It's comfortable. It's easy. It feels harmless. Until it's not. Until the gap between where you are and where you want it to be becomes too wide to ignore. And now, you're not just starting, you're catching up, trying to make up for lost time, trying to rebuild discipline, trying to rebuild discipline, trying to rebuild discipline. And that's when it hits you. Time was never on your side. It was always moving. You just weren't moving with it. That's why the people who succeed aren't necessarily the smartest or the most talented. They're the ones who understood time early. They respected it. They protected it. They used it with intention. While others were waiting, they were working. While others were hesitating, they were building. While others were hesitating, they were building. While others were distracted, they were focused. Not because they had more time, but because they treated it differently. And once you start seeing time this way, everything changes. You begin to notice how you spend your mornings, how you use your evenings, where your attention goes throughout the day. You stop asking, do I feel like doing this? And start asking, is this worth my time? Because now you understand every choice is a trade. Every moment you give to something, you're taking it away from something else. And if you're not careful, you'll keep trading your future for temporary comfort. You'll keep trading your future for temporary comfort. And that's where the next truth begins to reveal itself. Everybody's got dreams, big ones, loud ones. T, he kind you talk about with excitement in your voice and fire in your chest. You say you want success. You say you want respect. You say you want to become something more than what you are right now. But let me tell you something, most people don't want to hear your dreams. They're quiet. Yeah, they sound loud when you say them. They feel powerful in your mind, but in reality, they whisper. Your habits, those speak every single day. Because at the end of the day, it's not what you say you want. It's what you do repeatedly that defines you. You can talk about waking up early, but if your alarm rings and you hit snooze, your habit just spoke louder than your dream. You can say you want to be in shape, but if you skip the workout again, your habit just told the truth. You can claim you want success, discipline, greatness, but your daily routine is exposing what you actually prioritize. And here's the hard part. Habits don't care about your intentions. You might mean well, you might genuinely want to change. But habits, they're built on action, not intention. They're built on repetition, not desire. And every single time you repeat something, whether it's good or bad, you're casting a vote for the person you're becoming. Think about that. Every time you choose distraction over focus, that's a vote. Every time you choose comfort over effort, that's a vote. Every time you delay, avoid, or make excuses, that's a vote. And those votes, they add up quietly, slowly, until one day you wake up and realize you didn't become the person you talked about. You became the person your habits created. That's why habits are dangerous when you ignore them, because they don't feel like big decisions. They feel small and significant, easy to justify. Just 5 more minutes. I'll start tomorrow. It's not a big deal. But that's how it starts, not with failure, but with smen. All choices repeated daily. And over time, those small choices build a life. Now here's the shift. The same way bad habits can slowly destroy your future. Good habits can quietly build it. You don't need a massive change overnight. You don't need some big dramatic transformation. What you need is consistency in the small things. Waking up when you said you would. Doing the work even when you don't feel like it. Choosing discipline in moments where it would be easier to quit. Because habits don't need motivation. They don't need inspiration. They need repetition. And the more you repeat something, the less you think about it, until it becomes automatic. That's when things change. That's when success stops feeling impossible and starts feeling inevitable. But here's where most people get it wrong. They wait to feel motivated before they act. And that's why they stay stuck. Because motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. Some days you feel unstoppable. Other days you don't even feel like trying. But habits don't depend on how you feel. They show up regardless. And when you build the right habits, you don't need to argue with yourself. Every morning, you don't need to convince yourself to do the work. You just do it because that's who you are now. That's the real goal. Not just to chase success, but to become someone who naturally moves toward it. Because once your habits align with your goals, everything changes. The struggle becomes lighter. The progress becomes consistent. The results start showing up without you forcing them. But until that happens, there's always going to be a gap between what you say you want and what your life actually looks like. And that gap, it's filled with your daily habits. So if you really want to change your life, stop focusing only on the big picture. Stop obsessing over the dream without res. Practicing the process. Look at your day. Look at what you do when nobody's watching. Look at the choices you make when it's just you and your discipline. Because that's where the truth lives. That's where your future is being built. That's where your future is being built. One habit at a time. And once you start paying attention to that, once you start correcting those small actions, once you start showing up differently, even in the smallest moments, that's when you begin to understand something powerful. Comfort starts to lose its grip on you. Comfort will lie to you. It won't look like a problem. It won't feel like a threat. In fact, it'll feel like peace, like safety, like everything is okay. That's how it gets you. Because comfort doesn't destroy you all at once. It does it slowly, quietly, day by day. You start choosing what's easy instead of what's necessary. You start avoiding the things that challenge you, not because you can't do them, but because you don't feel like doing them. And that feeling right there, that's the trap. You wake up, you hit snooze. You tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow. You delay the work, the effort, the growth, and nothing bad happens immediately. That's what makes it dangerous. Because when you make a bad decision and there's no instant consequence, your mind starts believing it's okay. That skipping one day doesn't matter. That avoiding discomfort is harmless. But what you don't see is what it's costing you behind the scenes. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you're training yourself to stay the same. You're reinforcing a version of yourself that avoids pressure, avoids effort, avoids becoming better. And that version of you, that version will never reach your potential. Comfort convinces you that you're fine where you are, but fine convinces you that you're fine where you are. But fine is the enemy of greatness because nothing grows in comfort. Muscles don't grow in comfort. Skill doesn't grow in comfort. Character doesn't grow in comfort. Everything you want in life lives on the other side of discomfort. But nobody tells you that clearly. Nobody sits you down and says, hey, the reason you're not moving forward, it's not lack of ability. It's your attachment to what feels easy. So you stay in routines that don't push you. You stay in environments that don't challenge you. You stay around people who don't demand more from you. And slowly, without realizing it, you settle. Not because you wanted to, but because comfort made settling feel acceptable. That's how years disappear. You think you're resting, but you are actually delaying your life. You think you're relaxing, but you're actually avoiding your potential. And the longer you stay there, the harder it becomes to leave. Because comfort builds habits, and habits build identity. You start seeing yourself as someone who takes it easy, someone who waits, someone who doesn't push too hard. And now, it's no longer just your behavior, it's who you believe you are. That's the real danger. Because once comfort becomes your identity, growth feels unnatural, effort feels forced, discipline feels impossible. So when life demands more from you, when opportunities come, when pressure hits, you're not ready, not because you couldn't be, but because you chose comfort when you should have chosen growth. And here's the truth. Discomfort isn't your enemy, it's your signal. That feeling you avoid, that resistance you feel when you're about to do something hard, that's exactly where you need to go. Because discomfort means you're stretching, it means you're growing, it means you're stepping into something bigger than who you were yesterday. But comfort keeps you exactly where you are, safe, but stuck. And if you stay there long enough, stuck becomes permanent. You won't even realize you've stopped growing until one day life moves forward and you don't. Now suddenly people around you are evolving. They're leveling up. They're becoming more. And you're looking at your life, wondering why things haven't changed. But they did something different. They chose discomfort. They chose the early mornings, the hard work, the moments where they didn't feel like it, but did it anyway, while you were choosing comfort. And it's not about blaming yourself. It's about recognizing the pattern. Because once you see it, you can change it. You can start choosing differently. You can start leaning into the things you've been avoiding. Start doing the work even when it's inconvenient. Start doing the work even when it's inconvenient. Start pushing yourself even when it's uncomfortable, because that's where everything changes. That's where growth begins to take over. And when you do that consistently, something shifts. Discomfort stops feeling like pain and starts feeling like progress. And that's when you begin to understand something most people learn too late, that the life you want will always demand something from you. It will require effort. It will require sacrifice. It will require you to show up on days when you don't feel ready, which leads into something even deeper that nobody prepares you for. The truth that discipline is what carries you when comfort tries to pull you back. At some point, it all comes down to a decision. Not a big moment, not a perfect opportunity. Just a quiet decision you make with yourself every day to stop waiting, to stop choosing comfort, to stop letting time slip through your hands like it doesn't matter, because it does. Everything you heard today, it's not theory, it's not motivation, it's truth. The kind of truth people realize when they're hard, when they judge, looking back, wishing they had one more chance to do it differently. But you're here right now, which means you still have that chance. Right now, in this moment, you can decide to show up differently, to think differently, to act differently. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, now. Because the difference between the life you have and the life you want is not luck, it's not talent, it's what you do consistently when nobody's watching. So take a look at your life. Be honest with yourself. Where have you been choosing comfort? Where have you been making excuses? Where have you been wasting time you can't get back? And more importantly, what are you going to do about it? Because life doesn't wait. Time doesn't pause. And nobody is coming to remind you again. This is it. This is your moment to wake up, to take control, to become the person you keep telling yourself you're going to be, or to keep delaying until one day you realize you waited too long. At the end of the day, it's not about what you knew. It's about what you did with the time you were given. So the question is, what are you going to do today